this is the side I keep very concealed. Like, people don't get this, especially when we competing. Like, I'm not about to show you my vulnerable side, but you get it this time. And I think people are going to really appreciate it.
Let's get right into it, because this is a dramatic season here, and I have plenty of questions for all of you. So let's get into all of the drama.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got to start with Bryce here. You know, I saw your season of Too Hot to Handle, and it was dramatic, but I don't think it's going to be on the level of X on the Beach here. So what were you expecting when you hopped into this season here?
Yeah, right. So Too Hot to Handle was my first show. It was so different because obviously it was all about it's not as a weird dating show, right? You can't touch anybody, you can't do anything like that. It's more about self-growth, right? This was more of a free-for-all, kind of a real, true reality. You're bringing in some exes, you're bringing in other celebrity type people, and so it's more of a free-for-all, less produced. So I was excited about it. I was excited to see how different it would be from one show to the other. And I'm telling you, this season, you nailed it. It's very dramatic. It is quite the roller coaster. It has lots of ups and downs, especially for me. I mean, the emotions that I went through, much more than Too Hot to Handle.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And I mean, you put it so well there. It's a free-for-all for sure. And you guys all had your own fair share of drama here. So Da'Vonne, I got to ask you too. We've seen you on Big Brother, on The Challenge. This is going to be a whole new side of you, I think, on X on the Beach. So, what made you say yes to this opportunity?
Because I knew nobody could vote me out. Wasn't no getting evicted, wasn't none of that, no challenges, no competitions. I ain't got to deal with none of that. I don't have to hear TJ and that bullhorn. Like, none of that was there. Because I'm still stressing out about that. None of that was there. But no, I just feel like people have seen one side of me because all of my shows have been competition shows. You know what I mean? And so they see me in like competitive mode. Like I'm ready to go to war. But I wanted them to see the other side of Da'Vonne. And I think people are going to really be able to appreciate this side of me because this is the side I keep very concealed. Like, people don't get this, especially when we competing. Like, I'm not about to show you my vulnerable side, but you get it this time. And I think people are going to really appreciate it.
Oh, I love to hear that. And, I have to ask, you get this question a lot, I'm sure. Would you ever go back to The Challenge or Big Brother or anything like that?
I'm not going back to Big Brother. The Challenge, maybe. I usually say no, but I done got a little itch. So maybe.
Oh my God, people are going to be so excited to hear that. And I mean, I'm buzzing inside because I've missed The Challenge there.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, I also have a lot of questions about this whole love triangle that we have brewing here with Arisce, David, and Mike. Is it a little bit awkward here with you both? Like, where do you two stand right now?
We're okay.
I think the tension's kind of hot, obviously. As much as it was awkward that I didn't know that Mike and Arisce had dated before, and I had my sort of history with Mike and Arisce had hers, there were moments where we put our differences aside after a couple of drinks. Like you saw in the sneak peek, there's a 3-way kiss. So, there's some good tension there. There's a lot of fun things to play with in that scenario.
Okay. And what about in your own words, Arisce?
Those were such good words that I shouldn't give any more.
Okay, we'll just leave that unsaid there. Were you expecting this when you were going into the house, like to be in a love triangle like this? Like with
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't think, because you don't know who's going to come out the water, out of the shack, out of anywhere. And so that's definitely not who I expected first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who were you expecting first?
Anyone else? I've dated all of Hollywood, honey. Could have been anybody.
Okay, so we have some more people to come maybe throughout the season.
Maybe, maybe we're gonna have to wait and see, watch and see.
Okay, and I did get to see the premiere episode there, and the truth table. You guys went 0 to 100. It was right there. The drama got started right in the premiere episode, which I love personally. So you guys did get a little bit emotional too during that conversation. And David, you shared something very important, I feel, about your sexuality. And that was a big moment for you. You touched upon it on social media. So what was that like for you to open up on such a public forum too?
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps right now. So my sexuality is a topic that, coming from a Baptist Christian background, I grew up, my dad was a minister for 22 years. It was never spoken about, neither was sex. Actually, on my first show that I did, Paradise Hotels, when I publicly said that I wasn't a virgin. And that was a surprise to my family. So I was thinking, I'm going to put them through a whole nother thing, except, there was a grace period of about 9 months since we filmed X on the Beach. Then I got to come home and kind of live that out in my personal life before it was public. But being on X on the Beach was the first time I had firmly identified in one word for the first time in my life, how I sexually identify. My sexuality, I feel like, has been a question I've been asked about in the last 3 years. It's been something I really danced around because, I didn't feel like I was necessarily ready or at times fully confident. I can define it as this. Personally, I believe that you should only publicly identify your sexuality if it serves you to some sort of degree. And in my circumstance, I wanted to, not that it fully matters to me. I'm yes, this is my agenda, or I want to join the community publicly and this is the whole thing. But for me, I just wanted to give the message that this is who I am. This is part of who I am. It doesn't make up everything that I am, but I just want to let other people know out there that there are people just like you and there are people just like me. And that just because you look a certain way, I'm 6'5", I played collegiate baseball almost professionally. And, I sexually identify the way that I do. And you'll just have to find that out in the show. Mm-hmm. But it was right before I firmly said in front of everyone, I am this. I was so nervous. And as soon as I did, it didn't bother anyone. I don't know if I was expecting some sort of pushback or oh, are you sure this, that? Everyone was just, okay, cool. And it really showed me that around the right type of people, they're just going to accept me for who I am. And that's the type of partner that I want to look for romantically and in my life.
Mm-hmm. Of course. And I mean, you touched upon this too. I love that everyone was so kind and accepting in that moment. And you guys are through your fair share of drama, even though you guys got to come together and be kind and just listen to somebody's story. I thought it was really great to see, even though, you guys do have your wilder moments, you guys could come together and, be a family of sorts, even though you guys just met.
I felt very, very supported by everyone who was there in that matter. Maybe not supported in some of my decisions that I made later on in the show, but definitely over my sexuality and how I identify, I felt very supported, which was really important before I came back and told my family and told some of my closer friends, which was a very hard process and a very not easy process.
Okay. So are you okay right now, or with your family? What is that vibe like?
My family and I are definitely better now. When I came home, I definitely encountered some, I don't want to say opposition or pushback, but really it took about 3 months for us to talk again. There was about 3 months where my family, more of my parents and I, weren't interacting that much, at times because they didn't know what to say, or at times because I was upset with them. But they're set in their ways, but they're learning and they're growing, and I love them so much. And I couldn't have expected or hope for any other reaction that they gave me, or the support that they give me now, trying to understand, trying to be more progressive. I appreciate them so much. And the whole topic of my sexuality was never something I thought that I would need to speak to them about. Growing up, of my younger years, I never thought anything, but approaching my adult years, especially when I was going to come public with it, I knew I had to have that moment. And that was not something that I was looking forward to necessarily, but it did make us closer, especially with my dad and I. My dad and I have not been close in my upbringing years, but I definitely felt closer to my dad more than I ever have been.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad to see that everyone was so supportive too in the house. And, I'm sure things will get chaotic after that moment. I'm sure. Yeah. Based on the preview, it's going to be very chaotic. So just wrapping up right here, can you guys all give me one word to describe your journey this season?
For me, therapeutic.
Okay. Bryce?
A roller coaster.
Arisce?
Annoying.
David?
Damn, I'm bad at this. I'm gonna go with Bryce too, roller coaster.
Okay. I love hearing that. So roller coaster ride, and I'm ready to get on it. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to chat with me for Pop Culture. I appreciate it. I'm excited for the season.